This is the Art Beauty Podcast where we tell the real truth about the fake shit. I'm Amber, and today my fabulous and gorgeous co-host is Rochelle Weitzner. She is the CEO and founder of Pause Well Aging. This is a line that is totally created and made for women in all stages of menopause. We're going to talk about that because honestly, up until very recently, I didn't even realize that there were multiple stages of menopause. So thank you so much for being here, Rochelle. And thank you for helping us, continue this conversation on things that are really sort of like menopause is sort of this taboo subject.
Exactly. Well, Amber, I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me. I'm also very excited to talk about the real shit that thrills me. So let's do it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a Gen Xer, right? So, I'm now coming into this stage where I'm on the cusp of perimenopause. Maybe I'm already in it. I don't quite feel very different yet. But I called my mother, who listens to this podcast, and excuse me, Mom, but I kind of asked her, like, Mom, when did you start? What did you? And it was kind of this very, it was maybe like in my late 40s. I don't really remember it. And when I was reading about your company, I realized that menopause has really been this sort of taboo subject for so many women. And through your blog, you're hearing these stories that so many women just don't have that knowledge passed down. And maybe it was because the older generations, like we have to talk about my period, but not about menopause. Why do you think that is?
Exactly. So there's so many things in that I think we need to unpack. I mean, first of all, when I decided to start the company and, I was talking to my mother about it, and my mother's like, why would you want to talk about this all the time? Why would you want to have a company focused around menopause? And that's the generation. I'm Gen X as well. And it's like, well, we want to talk about things and we want to know what's happening. What can we do? What kind of products and services are out there for us? And by the way, who else is going through this with us? So you're exactly right? When we get our periods, our moms sit us down and, or the female figure or whomever in our life sits us down and talks about, okay, things are changing for you. Here's your pamphlet, right? Your menstruation pamphlet. You've gotten your period. What do you do? And there's a lot of information out there. There is no pamphlet for menopause. And what happened to me, the whole reason that I decided to start the company was that, so I come from the beauty industry, right? Let's kind of set that straight. I was the CEO of Reno Lazlo. Before that, I was the CFO of Mercier and RéVive skincare. So I say all that just to say that I understood who we as an industry were speaking to in terms of the customer. And it was sort of like, well, by the time we reach 40, beauty must end because none of the beauty companies are talking about it anymore. Right. And it's just ludicrous. Like, what? So fast forward a little bit to now I had turned 48, or I was 48 at the time. I had left Lazlo. I was trying to figure out what my next, life career was going to be. And I'm in a car, I'm driving to the beach, and I end up experiencing my first hot flash. And in that moment, so first I thought, what the hell's wrong with the air conditioning in the car? Right.
On the way to the beach.
And then
or you're getting sick, right?
Exactly. Or what's wrong with me? I must be sick. And I turn to my wife and I'm about to say, what the hell's wrong with the car? And she's shivering under a blanket, right? And I'm like, oh, geez, it's me. It's me. I'm 48. Holy crap. I'm having my first hot flash. I am old enough. And it was like in that moment, everything sort of flashed in front of me that, a lot of things are about to change, but I don't know what they are. I'm not ready at all. Nobody talks about this. I didn't know anything about menopause. We all sort of have this vision that menopause is the Golden Girls. It's your grandmother, your grandmother. She's your menopausal, not you, right?
Right.
And I decided right in that moment that I was going to create a company, that I was going to focus on really menopause and the physiological skin changes that come with this life stage. I didn't even know what they were at the time, but I knew I was going to address it. And so I'll often say pause was born in a flash, a hot flash. It
I
really
love
was.
that. I love that. I love that. You were just saying that happens during these 3 stages. And I would love, for everybody, we are going to talk about the line, which is absolutely incredible. But I would love to get a little bit of this science, because I think, again, there's things that we don't know about, what's really going on with our body in the perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal stages.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So after my flash, I spent the next 2 years doing a ton of research, and I'm kind of a science geek. And I mentioned my wife. My wife is a doctor of physical therapy, and she's a tissue and mobility specialist. And so, we talk a lot of science, and she helps to educate me, and vice versa. So what I learned is that menopause has 3 stages. The first stage is called perimenopause. And this is the stage where we tend to have the most experiences. And I call them experiences as opposed to symptoms, because menopause is not a medical condition. It is a life stage. Just as puberty is a life stage, menopause is a life stage. I'm making that very specific distinction because later we should talk about all of the headwinds that I faced in launching my company because of the ignorance that many lawyers have, thinking menopause is a medical condition. Right. Now, before I even go further on the stages, if you think about that for a minute, every woman who lives long enough is going to go through this stage. Every single woman. It doesn't matter your ethnicity, it doesn't matter your religion, none of that matters. You're going to go through it. So to say that every woman on the planet is going to suffer a medical condition, it's outrageous and offensive and ridiculous. So I just have to get that out there.
Right. Oh, such a good point, though.
It's crazy. And as I say, let's talk a little bit more after I go through the stages about what we have faced, because it's shocking. And I think it'll shock your listeners too. So perimenopause, that first stage, on average, this tends to impact women around age 45 and lasts anywhere from 3 to 16 years. It's a very long period of time. Now, something super interesting that's happening recently is that we are seeing women entering perimenopause earlier and earlier. Women around age 38 are entering perimenopause. There's even a term floating around called millennial pause. The millennials who are turning 40 are actually entering menopause now. And so if you think about that, starting menopause at 38, okay, next stage, menopause. Menopause is one.
Before we get into that, and I hate to interrupt you, are there certain things, because I wonder if listeners, like myself, are like, well, how do I know? Yeah. How do I know if I'm there? Are there things that we can do?
Yes. So there are things that you can maybe identify. So you will start to feel some things are changing, and you might not put it all together as, wait a minute, this is perimenopause. I didn't. It was the hot flash that triggered me. And so hot flashes, I think we're all pretty familiar with what that is as a concept, what it feels like. It's like this intense heat that kind of builds almost in your stomach a lot of times and works its way up to the point where you're this sweaty, drippy red mess out of nowhere. It can last a short period of time. It can last hours. A hot flash could then become a cold flash, right? So, but there are other things too. So there've been something like, I read different numbers, 40, 50 different experiences associated with perimenopause. So some examples, breakouts. We actually start to break out again. So perimenopausal acne is something. The skin becomes crazy, crazy dry, just so dry. And a lot of women will feel like, I've been using my products for years and years. They've been amazing. I love my products, but now they're not working anymore. Did the manufacturers change the formula? Right. And the answer is no, your formula is changing, and those products weren't made for you and what you're experiencing right now. There are things like brain fog. this one was crazy to me. I had no idea about this, where you feel like you can't find words that you're looking
Yeah,
for. And I even started to wonder, do I maybe have early onset Alzheimer's? And that scares you to death, right? Because you
sure.
don't know. No
Yes.
one's talking about anything. I've started thinking, I can't remember people's names. I can't remember why I just came in the kitchen. What am I doing? Right. And that brain fog is very, very normal with perimenopause. Sleeplessness, we find that we can't sleep well. There's weight gain, and that's a very real thing, particularly around the midsection. So the list, as I say, is probably 40 or 50 different things. And, one of the things that I'm trying to do with my website and my blog is to help educate women about what to expect. And, I wrote a piece called What is Menopause? And it does talk about, all of those experiences that have been identified, just to try to help us understand you're not alone.
Yeah. But so interesting. Like before we get into the menopause stage, there's so many celebrities now, right? They say, and I hate to, 40 is a new, or 50 is a new 40 is a new 30s, all of this. But I look at like some of the big, people that you think like the J-Los of the world. We're not really hearing her talk about that. Maybe she's not there.
She's there.
She's there,
She's
right?
absolutely there.
But okay, thank you. Thank you for saying it, because I'm not there. So, but
Yeah.
it's so interesting that none of our big celebrities really talk about this.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting when Michelle Obama talked about it pretty extensively, about, what it was like being in the White House and going through menopause, and, pretty fascinating. But you're right, it's not talked about enough, and particularly by the celebrities.
Right. Michelle Obama is the queen, by the way. Don't you just honestly,
Amazing.
that woman is she is a queen. That's all I have to say.
I am
Got it.
so with you. I'm a huge fan, huge fan. But you're right. We still have to break this taboo that
Yeah.
surrounds menopause, and I really hope that we can do it. Something that is clear is that no woman wants to be told she's menopausal, right? We know that, but it really is important to understand you are experiencing changes. The changes are normal. This does not have to be a horrible time in your life. As a matter of fact, I'm now running around saying menopause is our passage to power. This is
love
the
that.
time in our lives, right, where we probably have the most freedoms that we've ever had. Maybe kids are out of the house, and we've got more time to focus on ourselves. We're the wisest that we've ever been. And quite frankly, we don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about us. Right? I mean,
it's so true. It is
in your 20s.
So true. You were so worried.
So caught up with, how do I look? What does someone think about me? Are they talking about me? Who cares?
No, I feel like I'm the best
point
at 42 than I was ever before, because so much of that, because of the inner peace and confidence, that I feel like has really just allowed me to be a better human, and to take more chances. And I love that you're saying that. Yes.
Yeah.
This is
and
the
you
most
haven't
powerful
even
time.
really hit it in a strong way
No,
yet. You'll get
no.
there. You have a little
It
ways
gets
to
better.
go yet.
You know what? I love because what you're telling me now is, girl, it gets better. I do have sister-in-laws who are a bit older than me, who have been through menopause, who've dealt with the hot flashes, and made, honestly, have terrified me a little bit, because they're like, it is awful.
It's not always a walk in the park. And listen,
No.
I would be ridiculous if I sat here and said, menopause is amazing. Yay. Look, it's not always amazing, but it's not always awful. And that's why I wanted to create my company, Pause, to help deal with these pain points that we experience along with menopause. And I started with skincare. I think we've got lots of opportunities to expand, because there are many pain points beyond skincare. I wanted to start there because it's the area that I know so well. But, things like, we do experience hair loss, and we do experience hair growth where we do not want it, right?
It's like all the things that you don't want. And I do want to make sure that we talk also about the signs of menopause and then the post-menopause. But yeah,
Yeah.
the hair
Yeah,
growth.
that's exactly right. So let's continue on that for just a
Yeah.
minute. So perimenopause, this is the big experiences. The physiological skin changes. We lose collagen, we lose elasticity, we lose radiance, and we become excessively dry.
Right.
Those are kind of the main skin changes associated with menopause, and particularly in perimenopause is when we start to experience it. Menopause itself, we all know menopause, but what we don't know, it's one day in your life. It's only one day where we have gone 12 full months without having a period. That's your menopause holiday, your birthday, whatever you might want to call it. That very next day, you're postmenopausal for the rest of your life. So
Wow.
there are a lot of women will say, I've been through the menopause. I've done it. I'm done. It's over. Sadly, it's never over. Once you're in it, you're in it. And so think back to when I said we're entering perimenopause as early as 38. Typically it's in our early 40s. We can conceivably spend more than half our lives being menopausal in one of those stages, and yet it's still taboo and we don't talk about it. How crazy is that? How crazy is it that when I introduced pause, it was total white space in the beauty
Yeah.
industry?
Yeah.
We created this category. Now, I'm not the first person to go through menopause. I'm positive of that, but yet we didn't feel like we could talk about it enough as a society that I became the pioneer brand in the space. That to me is just crazy. And by the way, we launched in June of 2019. So we're just about to turn 3 years old. We're not that old.
No, you're not anywhere near perimenopause.
Nowhere near.
So, but, wow, I'm still blown away. So, and I love doing this, and I love these sort of facts because, again, as a woman in my 40s, I've had 42, have had that many years to kind of understand this, and still, I never knew menopause was one day.
Right.
So it's like, so I'll think a lot of women, when they're saying I've been through it, really, maybe they're thinking I was through the perimenopause, which was all the experiences you mentioned. Then your menopause is one day when you haven't had the period for 12 months. You've got it for one day, and the next day is the start now of your postmenopausal journey. So
That's
in
exactly right.
postmenopause, are there any of those experiences? Do they carry over, or generally?
They can.
Okay.
So many of them diminish. But, as an example, my soon to be 80-year-old mother-in-law still gets hot flashes.
Oh boy.
So it's kind of miserable. These experiences can be totally gone. There are a lot of women will suffer incredible headaches. And you hear that once your period stops, those headaches actually go away. That's not everybody. Everybody's experience with menopause is totally personal to them. It's very different. So it's hard to say this is exactly what's going to happen for
Right.
you because we don't know. We don't know.
I
The
hope
things
that
that
oh, sorry. Yeah, keep
I
going.
was just going to say, the things that we really have to focus on in postmenopause are things like osteoporosis. And so this idea that, we've got to really look at our bone health, and we have to look at our strength too. I mean, keeping strength up and some sort of a workout routine is absolutely critical as we go through all of these stages.
I'm hoping that if people take one thing away from this, and especially the women listening to this, it's one, that this is something that is going to, if you live long enough, happen to everybody. Two, to know that pause while aging has a blog. You are taking this, making this conversation. It should feel like a safe space. I don't want to make any assumptions. However, you mentioned you have a wife, so I just watched Julia, that Netflix show about Julia Childs. And there was a scene where she has to tell her husband she's in menopause. And for her, it's like this embarrassing, almost like, I'm so sorry. I'm so lucky to have a husband who just is very supportive, but I've seen other people who I know, I've seen them get teased
Yeah.
by the men in their lives. And I think that's awful. And I feel like if people take one thing away from it, it's like you are empowering women to know that this is something that's going to happen to everybody and to not be afraid to talk to it. And that, thanks to you, that there's some resources and products that are developed especially for that. So I really want to
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
And I love talking to women too. And,
Yeah.
a lot of women will write to me and share their stories. And, we might start conversations back and forth, because the whole thing is you're not alone in this.
Right.
And probably all of your friends are going through it too. And maybe, I am hearing a lot of the Gen Xers are quite comfortable talking to their friends about exactly what's happening and what they're going through. So that's wonderful to hear. My wife, incredibly, incredibly supportive. I mean, as a matter of fact, we created a tool as part of the line, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. I see it sitting right there, the fascia stimulating tool, and all of that is we co-patented that together, and I brought her in. She's younger than me, but is perimenopausal now,
Right.
and is probably the most one of the biggest experts on menopause, given her age.
Yeah. Second to, so Gen X loud and proud. I feel like we do talk about it. And I just hope that more women will do this. I felt so strongly about doing this because I am seeing some of my friends who I think don't even realize maybe that this is the cause. Some
Yeah.
of them are like, I think maybe I'm but I have a lot of friends now who are like, I'm breaking out. I'm not sure. It's interesting. So if somebody's thinking that they might be, are there tests that they can go take? Like, is there any way to definitively know?
That is an amazing question. And I would say that the answer to that right now is mixed. There are some doctors that will tell you that you can take a blood test to get an idea of where your hormone levels are.
Mhm.
The problem is, if you're on the pill, for example, you can't take that test. It will absolutely distort it. So I'm not entirely sure how reliable those tests are.
Okay.
From what I've seen so far, there is not a definitive test to say, yes, you've entered perimenopause. I think that would be a great thing to have. I'd love to have, just like my Fitbit, have a wearable device that's like, yep, you're in it. It's perimenopause time. Here we go.
If men had to go through this, it would be like, I don't know, there'd probably be a beer with like a sensor on the can that's like, oh yeah, oh
Dude, you're
hey,
in
here
it.
you go, you're in it. Weird. Good luck. Good luck and
Exactly.
God bless.
Exactly. So something definitely to work on, but I think that the most important thing, it's so interesting. There was a study done by Female Founders Fund that said women on average spend $20,000 only to figure out they're perimenopausal. So we are trying to chase cures or figuring out what is going on when we're not able to put together the fact that what we're actually experiencing is perimenopause. And so that's where I say, if we can get that information out there, if you're finding you're not sleeping as well as you did, you're having night sweats, you're noticing a pooch in the middle where you've never had that pooch in the middle before. You're starting to break out a little bit, and especially in kind of here, this U zone area. You're seeing more facial hair growth than you've ever had, or your hair is starting to thin. In my case, one of the worst things that's been happening so I'm all gray, right? I let myself go naturally gray. I've embraced it. I love it. I'm happy with it. But my hair has become crazy, crazy curly. Like, what the hell? I do not want curly hair. I don't know that, we're a podcast. Your listeners probably don't see me, but my hair is like flat top, right? I like it very straight, standing straight up. Curly hair for me, a little bit disastrous. And so, but that's a menopause thing.
Wow.
There are things we can do though, and I'm learning quickly what those things are.
Like what?
So this is amazing. So I have this awesome hairstylist. His name is Tom. He's at Bumble and Bumble in New York City. He's a genius. And I told him, I'm like, Tom, what is going on? My hair has become curly. I can't deal with this shit. He's like, don't worry. I know what we're going to do. We are going to come in. We are going to use a perm solution. I'm like, wait a minute, a perm solution, that's the complete opposite. I said, I want to be straight and not curly. He's like, no, people don't understand. So
It's gonna,
perm solution, you're going to comb it through for like 10 minutes straight in all different directions. And what you're doing is you're straightening it out. You leave the solution on, you rinse it out or whatever we did, and you don't apply the rods to curl the
right,
hair.
right.
I'm now, I don't know, I'm a month into it and I still have straight hair. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing I have ever found.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, I think like the same principle as like a Brazilian blowout, right? They're applying that solution, it's breaking the hair bonds, but then they are straightening it, as opposed to like when you would go get a perm, which I did before, and you would have all those curly rods because they had to reshape the hair. Good for you. And good for
Right?
Tom. Good for Tom for knowing, because it looks fabulous. So we've talked a little bit about the science of menopausal skin, and a lot of this is because our estrogen levels are dropping, correct? And
That's
as
right.
that
Estrogen
happens,
is fluctuating. So
yeah,
as my wife would say, estrogen hasn't quite left the building yet, but
right,
it's fluctuating and
yeah,
it's going a bit crazy. And so that's what's causing some of these changes to happen. Now, loss of collagen is really more associated with our age.
yeah,
And if you want to I love going sciencey a bit.
yeah.
So
Get
if you'll
science.
allow me to go a bit sciencey.
I say talk nerdy to me.
I love it. So first, let's talk about fascia.
Yeah,
Fascia is the connective tissue that runs throughout our bodies. I like to think of it as our soft skeleton. Okay. Within fascia, and just another thing about fascia, if you looked at fascia under a microscope, it actually looks like layers of webbing. It's webbing in multiple different layers. I mean, fascia is incredibly strong. If you removed everything from the body but fascia, and you took that fascia, you could probably hang a Volkswagen off of it and it wouldn't break. It's very, very strong. But it can get stuck together too. So if you've heard of something like a fascial adhesion means layers of fascia are stuck together and blood and fluids can't flow freely in that area. So if you've ever had a knot in your back,
yeah.
that is a fascial adhesion. Okay. We get knots in our face too, but you don't have people running around saying, oh my God, I have a knot in my face. I have to get it out.
No. How do we know if we have a knot in our face?
The way that you know is if the skin becomes kind of a dull gray, almost ashy tone to it.
Okay.
That means blood and fluids is not flowing freely in that area. That is a fascial adhesion in the face. So fascia. Within fascia live fibroblasts. Fibroblasts are cells that produce collagen. And from age 0 to 20, our fibroblasts are actively working away to produce new collagen. And that's why a young person's skin looks so amazing. Now, why do we care about collagen? Collagen is the support net of our skin, right? It's what gives us that density. In effect, it is your skin density. Elastin is the other thing that we talk about, and how much elasticity does our skin have? What is the ability of that skin to spring back into its form? As we lose elasticity, the skin can maybe slack a bit, and that's where we get that droopy nonsense that we all cannot stand. Exactly. So back to collagen. From age 20 to 40, our collagen production slows down, and that production decreases about 1% per year. And so those fibroblasts just start to get a little tired, is how I like to think of it. From 40 on, our bodies are producing very little new collagen at all. And I say that the fibroblasts have gone to sleep. They've gone dormant. However, through science, we know that if we can create something called shear is when we move layers of fascia across each other. That shear stimulates fibroblasts, wakes them up, and they can resume their collagen production. So my goal with my line is to spark the body's own production of collagen. I am not somebody who believes we've got to damage tissue and skin just in order to heal it and get new collagen. I don't think we ever want to damage ourselves. There's no need for that. And so that's not something that we advocate.
Which I love. And you were like, when we first got on, you were like, I'm going to call it out because listen, we've had a lot of doctors on here. I've done Ulthera before. Certainly, there are some examples where that damage will create a reaction, but what you're saying is that we don't have to do that. And I'm really excited. So I saw Tina Fey, they used this on Tina Fey's face, who's so gorgeous, to prep, what was it, for the Golden Globes? The fascia tool. Can I ask you something? And I don't mean to put you on the spot because I keep it real here. So I have had this and I've got friends who swear by fascia release. What is it? Myofascial
release. Yeah. Right. The technique.
There is a company and I'm blanking on the name, but that had the body fascia.
The fascia blaster.
Oh yeah. And I feel like for me, people were like, this is so great. This is so great. And now there are just pages and lawsuits and dedicated to people who were doing this fascia blasting on their bodies. And now their skin is just hanging. Yeah. And so I'm glad to have you on here because clearly your wife, like you said, is physical therapy. You've
She's the expert, right?
This is an FDA cleared device. So is that something that can be, that can happen or?
So let's put it this way. Fascia is our friend. Why would we ever want to blast it? Right? It goes back to that damage. Why would you damage yourselves? Now,
I've had that fascia blaster once, by the way, and did it really lightly one time and was so bruised. I was like, I'm never doing this again. And I just feel bad for all the people who kept doing it and now have this awful hanging skin. So continue, please.
So don't blast. Don't blast. Fascia is our friend. We don't need to blast it. And as a matter of fact, we just need to use some very gentle techniques. Now listen, it depends on what your intention is, right? And I'd love to talk for a minute about gua sha versus us and what I call the pause method. So gua sha, a lot of people think that gua sha is a tool. And we talk about a gua sha tool. Well, gua sha is a technique. It comes from Chinese medicine. And if you translate gua sha, it literally means scrape red. Now, if you Google gua sha images, right, and you look at those images, you will see these red streaks on people's backs. That is gua sha performed properly. And the whole idea behind gua sha is you're looking to burst the blood vessels, create this petechiae, in order for those cells to regenerate and heal themselves. And there's a belief that doing it on the back of the neck and on the back can actually promote some real healing. And there are a lot of people who get very real results from gua sha performed properly. But imagine doing that on the face. Would you want burst blood vessels all over the face? No. So we're not actually doing gua sha on the face. In our case, we do what's called the pause method. And so this tool, this fascia stimulating tool that's made of medical grade stainless steel, right? It's not a stone, it's not porous in any way. That's really important today because in today's world, right, with bacteria and germs and all that, we want it to be as clean as possible. You can clean this with alcohol or with soap and water.
Right.
It's not going to hold on to anything. The beveled edge on this tool is what really makes it unique. And it's part of the patented design because the edge allows you to use very minimal pressure in order to achieve that shear that I was talking about, stimulating those fibroblasts. So if we think of pressure from 0 being we're not even touching our face to 10 being extreme, we want to use a level 1 or 2.
Got it.
Very minimal.
Gentle.
It should feel amazing and gentle. The shape of our tool is actually based on the contours of the face. Now, when we hold it sideways, maybe it looks a little bit like a whale, right?
A fish,
got a fish tail, or holding it up kind of like a ribbon. Well, if you want the inside scoop on how we came up with the edge shape. So I mentioned that I used to be the CEO of Reno Lazlo. Reno Lazlo had the black sea mud soap, right?
Yes.
It's a brilliant, brilliant product. And so I use the sea mud soap on my face every day. Well, the bar tends to last a really, really long time. And I noticed over time, it was getting this indentation.
Shape.
Exactly. So this one edge here, it's not the one that's very angular, but the one that's a little gentler. That was from the bar of my Sea Mud soap
That's
after
amazing.
probably months of use and what it looked like. So it's intended to hug really the sides of your face, and particularly the long cheek areas. The edge that looks like a fishtail is meant to be used to really contour,
The jaw.
tighten, and tone the jaw area. Now, when we use this tool, we want to use it with a moisturizer. And of course, our collagen boosting moisturizer is what I recommend, more than anything. It's in the pump. So it's 2 ounces. It's a pump. It's $72.
This is such a beautiful formula too.
And so just like 2 to 3 pumps is really all you need to get full coverage. You want to make sure that you apply it all over the face as well as the neck area, because we know the neck is one of the very first places that we see aging, right? And things changing. So if you're like me and you want to keep things tight and right as long as you can, right?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
That's right. Make sure we get the neck area.
What's interesting about this formula? I want to, for anybody who's looking at, so it surprised me when I tried this the first time, because it is a moisturizer, but it wears like a serum, right? So it's not, when I think people think moisturizer.
Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very lightweight. That is something about all of our products. So when you think about it, the line is created to be able to deal with all the things we experience with menopause. So hot flashes, we can't have something that's so heavy and sits on the skin that it's going to just melt off over time. Your moisturizer, you should only have to apply it once a day, and it will get you through the entire day. If you're having to apply your moisturizer more than once a day, it's not the right moisturizer for you.
Great tip.
In our case, so I did a couple things. One was I wanted to create a complex, this sort of ingredient story that went throughout the line that was focused on those 4 things I mentioned originally: loss of collagen, loss of elasticity, excessive dryness, and loss of radiance. So our complex contains ingredients like niacinamide, right? I mean, how great. Vitamin B3, an amazing, amazing ingredient. We use ethyl ascorbic acid. It's a very, very stable version of vitamin C. We use several peptides. I'm like a huge peptide fan, and particularly like those drone peptides, as they're being called now, where they really penetrate deep into the skin. They know exactly where to go and what to do to help the skin look better. Ribose is another ingredient that's part of our complex. And that's really that only known ingredient that's out there to help control skin cell energy and improve cell metabolism and essentially wake up tired skin. So then on top of that, in our moisturizer, we use, for example, we have glycolic acid in our moisturizer. And
help that
glycolic,
cell turnover.
That's exactly right. It's an alpha hydroxy acid. It's a naturally occurring fruit acid that helps with exfoliation, with cell turnover. And, we're really looking to brighten complexion. Again, with, peptides are in there. The cockadoo plum is another super ingredient. I know, right?
I've never even heard of it. Cockadoo plum.
This is a skincare superfood. It's thought to be the most concentrated natural source of vitamin C. Something like 55 times the vitamin C that you would find in an orange. And it's got amazing antioxidant properties. It helps reduce the appearance of lines and wrinkles. And it's also works as an astringent. So it helps to fight off some of that bacteria and viruses and various other horrible things that might attack the skin. So we try to be really, really thoughtful about our ingredients.
I do want to ask, so you started the line, I believe, with 3 products. Now it's 8.
And we're actually up to 11.
Oh, 11 now. Wow. Okay. Good for you.
Yes.
Are there, and really this is designed, all of these are designed to be used through peri onwards, all stages.
I mean, listen, and here's the other thing. So the line it's a clean skincare line. We're vegan, we're gluten-free, we're non-GMO, we're cruelty-free, Leaping
Very
Bunny
important.
certified, and we're hormone-free. And that is really important because, listen, we want to make sure that any woman, no matter how she reaches menopause, can use our products. A lot of women who are undergoing chemotherapy or various cancer treatments or whatever do not want any sort of added hormones.
Sure.
And they can't for many reasons. So even though we're talking topical products, we know that what we put on our bodies ultimately goes into our bodies. So no hormones. So it's a safe product. When I did first launch, you mentioned three products. We've talked about my moisturizer. We've talked a little bit about the fascia stimulating tool. I mean, I could do a whole episode on just the tool and how to use it. And
we want to bring you back for that. Yes.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
Different strokes to use to stimulate the body's production of collagen. And we've done clinical studies too to show that by using the two products together, we actually can improve skin density by 24% over an 8-week period of time. It's amazing.
Wow.
So the other product though that was introduced with the line was our cooling mist. And
which I was so psyched to try this. It's great.
It's an amazing.
I'm not having hot flashes. Yes.
But this is what's so great. So this product has become kind of a cult favorite product. It was created to deal with the intensity of a hot flash. But if you think about it, and it's not a facial mist. So let's say that first of all, for your listeners, it's meant to be used on the pulse points and the back of the neck. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful in the chest area as well. And so what it does is 2 sprays will actually cool you down for about an hour. And you'll know instantly if this product works for you. I will say, doesn't work for everybody. Body chemistry is different for every person, right? There are some parts of the population that this just isn't going to work for, but it's a very small percentage. I would say for 95% of the population, you will get a benefit from this. This has a false daisy extract in it. It's a plant that's common in Korea. It's an antioxidant, an astringent, and an anti-inflammatory. So it really helps. It can help reduce that redness that comes with when you're hot. We have a holy basil leaf extract, which helps to really soothe, to also reduce redness. It's used a lot in Ayurvedic medicine as an adaptogen to help counter life stresses, right? And then we use a menthol derivative that produces a cooling sensation through a vasodilation. And it can cause a little bit of a tingly reaction. You might feel
a little bit, but it's my elbow right now is nice and cool, the back of my neck.
Right.
I love that you said on your website, like for for the younger generation, like this is your go-to in your gym bag, or if you're outside in the summer and it's hot and you need a cool down, this is great.
At Coachella, this was like a huge thing at the Coachella festival, right?
Sure.
For moms trying to cool down hot, cranky kids at Disney World or whatever, just 2 sprays on the back of the neck. It's $39. $39, you get 300 sprays out of a bottle, so 150 uses. I think it works out to like 26 cents an application if you're using it twice.
Right. And if you're having hot flashes, it's more than, it'll pay for itself in the first sense of relief from what you're telling me. Yes.
Exactly.
So let's quickly kind of go. So your hydrating cleanser, which because we're dry skin.
Exactly. Right. We need our hydration. This cleanser, it's very light with a creamy texture. It's not going to foam up or anything like that, but it's going to gently remove the impurities and makeup, but it's also going to nourish dry skin, and it's going to leave it feeling very soft, silky. There's no stripping of the skin from using this product. I keep mine in the shower. One of the things about our packaging, I tried to be very thoughtful about how do we use products. I don't like a jar when you open a top and you stick your fingers in and have to scoop it out. And clean beauty, you don't want to expose clean beauty to the air if you don't have to, because we're using different preservatives and you want your product to last as long as possible. So I use a lot of pumps. I use a lot of tubes.
Smart.
mists, anything that we don't have to actually have direct exposure to the product.
That is amazing. And just to highlight quickly through the line, we've got the cooling mist, the moisturizer that, or the collagen booster moisturizer we talked about. You also have eye treatment and eye serum, this detox serum, which is
detox serum. We should definitely spend a moment on that.
Yeah.
So this was created because I was suffering horribly from perimenopausal breakouts.
Okay.
And we can't use the normal benzoyl peroxide that we would have turned to in our teen years, right? I mean, I was probably the biggest Clearasil user that there was, right? And Clearasil, an amazing product. But when the skin is more delicate, it's thinner, the skin barrier is maybe damaged a bit. Using benzoyl peroxide is going to cause us to get into a vicious cycle where, yes, we might cure the breakout, but now we're damaging the skin, and the skin is going to become so dry and cracked,
even drier,
and peely,
right?
That the cycle continues. So then we try to, maybe put oil on, thinking, oh my God, I've got to get hydrated again. And then we break out again. So this detox serum was created so that it's hydrating. It doesn't use those harsh ingredients. So key ingredients in this: willow bark extract. Willow bark extract is a natural source of salicylic acid that helps to really soothe and assist skin cell regeneration. It alleviates the skin congestion and breakouts through gently exfoliating and refining our pore size. The other thing that we have in here is aloe leaf extract. I think we all know what aloe leaf is and what that's great for. It's a strong anti-inflammatory, and it's really for helping to soothe the skin and calm irritations. We also use a broccoli extract. Like, you don't hear that ingredient very often, right?
No, but I love eating broccoli. So,
right. And we know broccoli is full of vitamins B1, B2, B3, B6, vitamin A, vitamin C, iron,
fiber,
magnesium, amazingness, right? This is what's going to help protect us from harmful UV rays. It fights against the free radicals and inflammation that can age the skin. And it also helps to promote the skin cell regeneration, promoting that clearer and more even skin tone. And then we use 2 fruit-derived enzymes so that these enzymes from pineapple and papaya actually work as alpha hydroxy acids as well. So kind of creating this chemical exfoliation to detoxify and soften the skin. So what I love about this bottle,
it's such a cool bottle. Yeah.
As you twist up the top, it automatically draws up the exact amount of product that you need. You push a button and dispense it into the palm of your hand. You would then pat your hands together and just pat this onto the skin and let it just absorb.
Right. And now this is supposed to, oh, well, look, I'm going to now just look really, really young and blurry. And this is meant to be used once or twice a day.
You can actually use it up to twice a day.
Okay.
It's very, very hydrating. So that's one of the amazing things. It's meant to be your serum. So in terms of our rituals, we always want to start with cleansing, right? Cleansing is our first step, followed by our serum. So either we're going to use a detox serum, or we've also got what we call our complete face serum, and that has our highest concentration of the pause complex. So if you're all about tightening, toning, diminishing fine lines and wrinkles, that's the serum you want to use.
Gotcha.
If you're really dealing with these breakouts and you want to clarify the skin, the detox serum is what you want to use. I wouldn't use them together. I'd use one or the other.
Don't layer. Okay.
And then moisturizer on top of that. Now, we came out with a product recently called Moisture Lock Ultra Hydrator. It's the most amazing hydration product. You've got it. It's in a tube. It's 3 ounces. This can actually go on top of your moisturizer for just that double moisturizing if you're just so crazy dry. It can be used as a sleep mask.
Yeah.
So if you want an extra boost of hydration at night, It also is fantastic to use anywhere on the body that you have really
Oh,
dry spots.
elbows. For me, my
Elbows,
elbows, knees, feet.
knees, hands. It's incredible on hands. So it's kind of this multifaceted product. It's got ceramides in it, and it also has polyglutamic acid. So polyglutamic acid is a peptide that functions just like hyaluronic acid, but it's actually more powerful. It draws water in from the air and it
Right.
moisturizes the skin this way to really support the appearance of having that plump, dewy complexion that we're all looking for.
Rochelle, you have been so amazing. And I'm sorry to let you go. I actually have one more podcast after this. So before we get interrupted, one, I would love to have you back anytime. I'm so happy that you are talking about this, that you are you're sort of destigmatizing this sort of negative concept of menopause, something that, God willing, you live long enough, every single female on the planet will go through this. I really appreciate you being on. If people want to know more about this, if they want to learn, and I know that your fashion tool, you've got great demonstrations on your website. It comes with an instruction manual. If people want to know more about these products, where should they go?
Yeah, go to our website, pausewellaging.com. Remember, well aging, not anti-aging, because like, what is there to be against? Anti-aging is like, we are against aging. No.
Yeah.
We're about well aging. Aging well on our terms, the way we choose to.
Thank you so much. I absolutely love that. And if you at home listening have anything you want me to pass along to Rochelle, you can always reach out to me at hello@artbeautypodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Art Beauty Podcast. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.